It's really an honor and privilege to be here amidst of you all, and it's a great pleasure to share this space with Sir Madhyaragan. Thank you very much, sir, for being here amidst of all of us. And thank you very much in advance for any thoughts that you're able to offer on inclusion. So since you are the Senior Programming Officer of CBM, I'm sure that you've got a lot to say about inclusion, and we'd really like to hear more from you and your thoughts to go for the way forward. So the moment I heard about inclusion and the Minister for Persons with Disability, I thought of this word inclusion. And the moment I thought about this word inclusion, immediately the word Children's Parliament came into my mind. So associating inclusion and Children's Parliament, I'd like to divide my presentation today into 3 parts. In part 1, I'd like to share my experience. And in part 2, I'd like to share the experiences of others and the learning that I've actually acquired from that. And in part 3, I would like to present some of my suggestions and ideas to be carried out to move forward in the Children's Parliament, both for the Minister for Disability Concerns or Minister for Persons with Disabilities, and for the Parliament in general. To begin with, let me start from my own experience. When I wanted to share my experience, I thought that let me share just a part of my experience. It was one of the rainy days during when I was invited to join a state-level conference for Children's Parliament. And at that conference, I was told that I should represent children of my own school. That was the time when the Children's Parliament began in our school. I studied in a school for persons with visual disabilities, and that was the first time ever since that Children's Parliament was started in our school. So, after joining the Children's Parliament, when my own peers took interest in my work, they elected me to go to the state-level conference. That was a conference where I was invited by one of the nun sisters who coordinated it. Because it was a very strange and new place, my parents were reluctant to allow me, but eventually they allowed me because of my desire. My mother took me to the state-level conference. That was the first time ever since that she had to leave me alone since my childhood. She was quite reluctant and quite sad about that. But the moment she handed over me to the nun sister who coordinated the entire conference, she said the following words: "Sister, this is the first time that I'm leaving my child all alone in a strange and new place. I hope that she'll be taken care of, and thank you very much." The moment she uttered those words, she had tears in her eyes, and then eventually she left me and went off. I was there. At first, I did not know how to interact, but as and when the time was going on and on, I've had a beautiful and nice interaction. I've been interacting with my peers, and I've been equally participating in all the activities that they were taking. For example, when they were running, I was also ensured the space to run. That gave me confidence. That gave me the experience of inclusion. And At the third day, when my mother came, she had to inquire where her daughter is. And the moment she uttered my first name, security who was in the gate knew. And he immediately said, the place that I have been in. And when she came and saw, I was giving a press meet amidst of all my peers. And all my peers were taking care of me to her surprise. She went to the nun sister and asked, "It's a miracle here." At the beginning, my daughter was not aware of anybody, and now everybody is taking care of her, and my daughter is speaking with everybody else, including she's giving the press meet. And the nun sister said, this is the power of inclusion. When you're included, that's the experience that you gain. And the children were better understandable and knew how to take care of better than adults. Because the reason that I say is that because when I went to the mainstream school, the teachers there were reluctant and they were not really aware of what to do and how to do. So they were really questioning in different angles. But when I went to that school in the state level conference at a very young age, especially it was 13 years of my age that I went to this conference, I've been taken care of by all my peers. In spite of the fact that it was the first time for me to be all alone. So this taught me one thing, that is, inclusion is not a definition, but rather it's an experience, it's a practice. So unless and until we practice it, we implement it from childhood, it is going to be impossible for the society to understand us and for us to understand the society. For example, when I was made to run with all my peers, they made sure that I was provided with an escort, and that escort assisted me due to my visual disability where to go, and that helped me to run faster and cope up with my peers. So this is a reasonable adjustment that was made, and this reasonable adjustment could be made and it could be understood only when there is inclusion. And let me come to the second part now. The learnings that I've acquired from others' experience. I've been talking with different people, out of which they said that in one of the villages, when the Children Parliament was initiated, the children of those parliament took a resolution that since no child should be left behind, they all need to go to school together so that the school management cannot complain that any child is late. So it is not only, this taught me something, that inclusion is not only including persons with disabilities, but also providing equal opportunity and space. For example, there might be children who might not be able to attend faster due to their lack of vehicles or due to the lack of ability. It might be for different reasons. So to cope up everything, to provide everybody an equal opportunity, it seems that the Children Parliament decided to go to school together. And at this point of time, there was one of the parents who was carrying a kid having locomotive disorder from home to school and from school to home by herself. When the Children Parliament came to know about it, it took up this issue to one of the non-governmental organizations, which helped them to gain the tricycle, to get the tricycle. So with the help of the tricycle, together everybody pushed the child to the school and then took the child from school back home. So this is what we call it as equal opportunity. So along with the reasonable adjustments, inclusion needs the equal opportunity to be provided. So let me now come to the third part, that is the suggestions and inputs that I would like to share with you all. There are 3 suggestions that I would like to share. Number one, the languaging that we could adopt. And number two, the equality of opportunity. And number three, in corresponding to the previous one, that is equality of opportunity, the reasonable adjustments. So the languaging, in regard to the languaging, we all say that it is a Minister for Persons with Disability or Minister for Disability Concerns in our Parliament, which is amazing because it is the exact term that points out the fact. But since we say that minister is the word that emphasizes a responsibility, I would like to share a suggestion that would it be okay to call the ministerial responsibility as Minister for Inclusion and Diversity rather than calling Minister for Persons with Disabilities. Because when we say that it's a person with disabilities, it addresses the fact. But when we say that the Minister for Inclusion and Diversity, it ensures the responsibility and emphasizes that what the minister has to do in that particular responsibility. And in regard to equality of opportunity, I'd like to say that pointing out the second experience, the equality of opportunity is providing equal opportunities to everybody, making sure that everybody is taking part. It is not leaving one child behind since that child or that person is not able to do, but rather it is ensuring the equality of opportunity and safety as well. For example, if there is a foster child who is not able to do something, if a child having vulnerable background is not able to do something, the child is bullied, then that is also a kind of disability to be addressed. So that kind of disability should be removed and there should be equality of opportunity ensured. And in regard to reasonable adjustments, I'd like to say that pointing out my first experience that when I was running, I was provided with an escort. That helped me to cope up with my peers. And therefore, reasonable adjustments is making the reasonable adjustments to ensure the participation of everybody. So in regard to reasonable adjustments, I would also like to say that there is not only physical disability, but also emotional disability to be addressed. For example, when a child is harassed by another child, the child who harasses the another child might have had the disability, might have been emotionally disturbed, so that needs to be addressed. For example, in the meeting, when somebody gets angry in the child parliament or in the children's parliament, the Minister for Disability Concerns, maybe in future if the minister is called as Inclusion and Diversity, the Minister for Inclusion and Diversity could ensure that that emotional concern is addressed. And so let me reiterate what I have said. I've been sharing my own experience and the experience of others and the learnings that I've acquired from it. And then I've been sharing about 3 things in the suggestions. That is languaging, changing the language of Minister from Persons with Disability to Minister for Inclusion and Diversity, and then equality of opportunity and reasonable adjustments addressing both physical and emotional disabilities. And thank you everybody for giving me this wonderful opportunity, and would like to hear from Madhya and Sarah. Thank you very much, Father.